Welcome to another exciting episode of the Trip 101 Travel Talk series, where we dive into exciting destinations across the globe. Today, we're joined by Morgan, who's here to take us on a thrilling ride through her unforgettable journey in Colombia, the first stop in her year long travel adventure. From hiking through lush jungles to admiring colorful cities and some very thrilling activities, Morgan's got stories that are guaranteed to spark your wanderlust. So buckle up as we explore Colombia through her eyes in this two-part adventure. Hello and welcome to Morgan. So I'm very excited to learn more about her adventures in Colombia. But before we do that, let's get to know Morgan a little bit more.
Hi, so excited to be here. Thank you for reaching out and having this opportunity. Any opportunity to talk about travel, and I'm there.
Oh wow. So Morgan, tell us what about this year-long adventure that you are on? How did it get started?
Yeah, so started in Colombia, which was such an excellent choice. Colombia is such an underrated place, and it was the perfect kickoff spot.
But how did you plan this? Like, how did you decide to go on like 1 year of travel adventure?
So I decided I wanted to travel full time. So this is this year, but I've done several legs. I started traveling September of 2023. So a year and a half now. So I've been full-time traveling ever since. And I will usually do a few months, come back home, reset, visit all my friends and family, and then head off again. But I knew this leg was going to be a long one because I wanted to make it to Asia. So this
Mhm.
one's a year long.
And you've gotten here, so that's quite a thing.
Yeah, I'm very excited to be here.
Yeah. So before we get into talking about Colombia, I want to ask you like a few questions just so we understand what type of travel you do and viewers can connect with you on those grounds. So do you like to plan your trips or are you like spontaneous? Do you arrive in a destination and then figure out what to do, or do you plan ahead and schedule everything?
Such a good question because I feel like every traveler knows that this is the biggest toss up. It's so much fun to just go show up and just see what falls into place. But since I'm a digital nomad, I work during the weeks, I need a bit more structure in my daily routine. So I like to plan a bit ahead. I like to plan a month ahead, roughly.
Oh, wow. So how many days did you spend in Colombia?
I spent 2 months in Colombia.
Oh, wow. So you were there to out and out explore the whole country.
Man, I wish. Colombia is huge. You would need so much time to really explore the whole country. And I like to move slow because I work during the week. But yeah, I had a decent amount of time to really suss out the vibe, and it definitely passed all checks.
Oh, nice. So what were the months you were in? Like when did you spend those 2 months? What was the time of the year?
So October through to the end of December.
Oh, nice. That's the time when it's like the dry season over there, right?
Yes, yeah, more dry. If you're in the jungle, it's gonna rain. But overall, it was really lovely weather.
Nice. So what all did you do while you were there for the 2 months? How many cities were you able to visit, or what were the spots that you had on your semi-planned trip that this is all what I'm going to hit in the 2 months that I'm there?
Yes. So Minca, Tirona, Medellin, Guadalupe, Salento, Cali, and then we left out of Bogota.
Okay, so what was the first one that you got into? Where did you land up first?
So we actually did land in Cartagena, but we only spent one night there, and then we headed to Minca, which is a very small town in the mountains, but close to the coast near Santa Marta. And it's just thick jungle, like really remote. And we got an Airbnb there for a month and just hung out there for a long time. And it was incredible, just being really immersed in the jungle.
So Minka was the first one that you explored, and that was for about a month, and then the rest of them were all packed into the next 1 month that you were staying.
Yeah, I guess Minka was like, yeah, about a month, 3 weeks, about a month, but the rest of our stays were week chunks. But
Ah,
Tyrona was a part of Minka too because it's close.
hmm.
So we just drove to Tyrona, spent like a weekend there. It's a incredible national park. So that's also lumped in there.
So, which of these spots did you enjoy the most, or what was it about each of them that was special or stood out for you?
Yeah. So I don't know that I could honestly choose a favorite. If you like made me choose, I'd probably say Salento, but each place had its own beauty. Minca was so deep in the jungle and so peaceful. It had a really beautiful little town that was just like quaint and so nice. And my highlight in Minca was a waterfall, the Marinka waterfall. It's like they built it out to be a park, so there's two different waterfalls and tons of places to lay in a hammock and stuff. It's incredible. Tyrona, we camped there overnight, and it is like one of the most breathtaking national parks you'll ever go to. So put that on your bucket list for real.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Medellin was a really unique city. It's a really big city and it's popular and there's lots of facets. I stayed in like a more gringo area, but it's a really nice area and the food scene in Medellin is crazy, really good. There's like walking streets where they block the road and so it's just you can walk through and get food. There's like a nice party scene if you're into that. But the areas called El Poblado and Manila are like some really nice areas in
Okay.
Medellin that I would recommend.
Oh. Did you have any concerns about visiting Medellin? Because you always hear of it in like narcos and stuff. So,
Yeah. So actually really interesting that you say that because one of the things we did in Medellin was a tour of Comuna 13, which is the area that Pablo Escobar is like known for being like having his hands in there. And there's also gorillas and a whole bunch of other stuff happening there. So like you said, previously was pretty dangerous. But Colombia in general, and Medellin specifically, is in the middle of an artistic renaissance, which is so cool to even be there to experience and see this history of change. So when you go to Comuna 13, you can see that there's so much art, there's dance, there's people making crafts and showing you all these different things. You can see how people have changed from the cartel life to like trying to put all of their passion into art and the beauty of the world and contributing in that way. And
mm,
Colombia has been really intentional about changing their what is it called? Their
perception, I guess.
yes, yeah, it's like changing like what people think about it because people, like you said, like your initial thought is like, whoa, Colombia.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have that kind of initial reaction, but they've done a decent amount of work to change things and bring in more tourists and make it a place for people to come in and explore and see all the beauty that Colombia has to offer.
Yeah, that's so nice. And when you were there as a traveler, you said it was so great to experience that artistic side of the town instead of like, of
Totally.
course, about a place on through films or TV shows that you form like a certain idea of them, but then being there and like seeing it through your own eyes and experiences is something else, of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah. And obviously, like any city in the world, there are places that you're like, okay, maybe better not to be here at night or whatever. Like, for sure in America, there are. So there's places too here in Colombia that you're like, maybe at night we get a taxi or whatever, or we just don't stay in those areas. But overall, I felt very safe in Colombia.
So that's great. So you'll remember Medellin by its art and by its streets, which are full of like people dancing, being creative, and you mentioned a party street as well.
Yeah, there's El Poblado definitely has more clubs and things. I'm not much of a drinker these days, but if that's your thing and you're trying to do a girls trip, honestly, Medellin is like a great spot for a girls trip.
Okay.
So for Medellin, we went to Guadalupe, which was an incredible town. You want to talk about art and colors? It's one of the most colorful cities in the world, I believe. And it had
That's where they have those tile work on the houses. Is that?
Yeah, the zocales, I think it's called zocales, where they like have like on the houses, yeah, these like beautiful paintings and pictures. Yeah, absolutely beautiful. It's surrounded by this lake and there's tons of activities to do. People say you can spend like 1, 2 days there and you're good to go. Honestly, I would have stayed there even longer had I had the time. So there's lots to do, lots of artistic flow, but you can also kayak and like hike. There's tons of activities. So beautiful spot. Yeah, Guadalupe. And it's known for a really big rock, like
Oh,
a giant rock that you go and you can hike up to the top and see all of Guadalupe. And because it's surrounded by this lake that kind of like fingers into the, like the land pieces, the watercolor is just absolutely beautiful. So
oh,
highly recommend. And then from there, we went to Salento, which is where this area is, the Cocora Valley, and it was a really magical experience. There, I stayed in like a more like hippie area. So I was definitely influenced by, yeah, the more spiritual side of things, like doing a doing like a medicine ceremony, like a traditional medicine ceremony, or yeah. But just even just again, walking through Cocora Valley, you can really feel how prominent the energy is.
oh, so what was the ceremony like? Like the one that you attended, medicine ceremony?
Yeah, it was a cacao ceremony. So I went to a women's circle where like all of these ladies circled up, like local Colombian women, and I decided to go and join them. And we did cacao and just being there to experience that energy, like despite the some language barriers, it was really nice to just put myself out there and connect with the locals and enjoy the space that they created for women. It was really lovely.
Oh wow, that must have been quite an experience.
Really was. It was. And it was
Yeah.
one that is like a favorite of mine for sure.
Oh wow. What about the valley itself? Did you hike through it or like what is it the how do you go around it in a way?
So there is a hike that you can do, and so I recommend doing the hike counterclockwise because there's like a jungle area and then there's this area which is the valley with the 200-foot palm trees. If you go counterclockwise, you miss a lot of the people and you like go through the jungle area, which is a bit more of a challenging hike, but you end here in this valley and you get to sit, soak it up, and just take all the time you want with the palms.
Also, if you go counterclockwise, this is where you end up at the end. That's where you can
Exactly.
admire. Oh,
Exactly.
that's a nice
You
suggestion.
start with the palms and then you go downhill though, the jungle. So if you're like, I don't know, I just don't want to hike that much, then maybe do it this way and go downhill. But the jungle is really lovely as well. Not to be missed.
So earlier when I asked you to choose between the various spots that you were in, you picked Salento as the one which you will pick if you really have to. So what was the reason for that?
I think I was able to connect there in a very different way. Like I said, it's a bit more woo, a bit more spiritual, at least where I stayed. And yeah, I would get up in the morning and the hostel hosted yoga or energy passes, which I'd never even heard of. But they explained that it's like an ancient native native exercise similar to yoga but you're like genuinely shaking off past energies and cleansing your energy.
Oh.
Yeah, so that and like the cacao circle and just being able to connect on a deeper level and talk with local people and really plug in there was really nice.
Okay. Makes sense, yeah. So after Salento, what was your next stop? I think that was the last one, Cali.
Yes. So after that, we went to Cali,
Mm.
which is known for salsa dancing. It's like the birthplace of salsa. So we went and we took salsa lessons for a week and went to the famous Topotalandra bar where you go and dance. And it was incredible just getting to dance is so exciting, but being taught like this culture through dance was a really incredible experience.
So how much were you able to learn after taking a week's worth of classes?
Honestly, a decent amount. Like I was pleasantly surprised and not to toot my own horn, I'm not bad at dancing, but we had a one-on-one coach,
Oh,
myself and my partner, and so we were able to learn a decent amount of cool moves.
oh wow.
Now, could we perform them right now? I don't know. But back then, yes.
Okay. So that was like quite an adventurous trip for sure, like moving through these various towns and cities
Yeah.
of Colombia. I do want to know a little bit about your more thrilling and adventurous activities that you participated in because I've seen some photos which were really cool, especially the hammock thing.
That's exactly what I was going for, girl. I was going to talk about it. So, in Medellin, you can book a tour in this wonderful place called Casa, which is the house in English is House of Air. And it is a hostel that is built into the side of a cliff, like just up against the cliff. And it's supported. You feel like you walk in it and you feel like, okay, it's like safe. But it's definitely unique. And to get into it, you can walk down the valley and then up to the house. But one of the options is to zip line into the hostel. And so that's how I got into this hostel. It was like
Oh my
full,
God.
like, yeah. And it was like dark and cloudy and misty. So like looking in, I was just looking at a bunch of clouds and I was like, okay, I know the hostel's in there somewhere. And so like on the way, I'm like going through the clouds and it opens up to reveal this like hostel that's built into the side of this cliff. It was such a unique experience and very
Oh my
cool. So we stayed there, and one of the activities we got to do is hammocking above the Colombian jungle.
God.
So on the same zip line, they run like the hammocks out, and you're still connected. They're like, okay, put your foot in, put everything in. They like you roll into the hammock, and then they leave you there, and they're like, all right, good. And like the first 2 minutes, you're just like,
Yeah.
you're like, hey, I'm good. I know I'm safe. This isn't gonna rip. And even if it does, I have one string here connecting me to the line too, so it's fine. But yeah, after a couple minutes, you're like, your perception kind of returns to normal. You recognize that, A, this is sick. Like I'm hammocking in the middle of the sky, looking at these Colombian mountains and the sunset. We did it during sunset. And it was just that was probably my favorite experience in Colombia overall, was just being able to hang out in the sky and just see the beauty of Colombia too. The lush jungle is just it's so good.
Not many people can say that they have hung out in the sky, so that's quite a unique experience you had for sure.
It really was. It really was. And I highly recommend it to anybody. Totally worth it.
When I first saw those pictures, you always think of hammock as like lazy beach and that
Yeah.
kind of. When I saw those, I thought was
Exciting.
how would you even get into this hammock first of all?
It's so funny. They like tow you out and then so you're like connected to this person and they're like, okay, put one leg in and then put the other leg in and then just roll yourself in. So you roll in, then they like hook you up to where you have your own line and then they unhook you from them and they're like, all right, enjoy. Leave you there. So, but it was awesome.
Yeah, it did look pretty good. So this is not your regular like lazing hammock. This is like your as in rush hammock for sure.
Yeah, yeah. This is extreme hammocking.
Did you do any other such extreme activities as well, in addition to this one? Although for me, this would be just it.
You're like, that's enough.
Yeah.
No, they also had rock climbing and a swing. They called it a Tarzan swing, but basically it's just like a rope. It's like a nice rope. Obviously, it's gonna support you. And they like hook you, and then you jump out of the window of the hostel that's like against the side of the cliff. You jump out of that window and you just like swing up and out into the magic of the Colombian jungle. And yeah, you just swing there for a second, but it's thrilling for sure. And then we also did the rock climbing, which was a lot of fun too,
Mm.
especially like live rock climbing and again, out in the middle of nature.
Yeah. Yeah, so those are all some pretty dangerous activities which you can do in Medellin. Not the dangerous you thought might happen, but a totally
There
different
are
take.
things, yeah, yeah, there are more chill things. But if you're an adventure junkie, that's
So, Morgan, like if you were recommending someone to go to Colombia and they were going as a traveler for like maybe 10 days, 2 weeks, what all would you definitely ask them to definitely do during their trip?
I would say I would I would ask them what they're looking for. And if they're looking for a full trip with all the different activities, I think that Medellin is such a good spot because you can fly directly into Medellin, and then you can take a 2 hour bus to Guadalupe, that other spot, which is really nice and beautiful. And then, of course, you can do the Casa en el Aire, so you get your thrill. And then if you really want to make it and you have time, I think it was like 5 or 6 hours to get to Salento. So another bus ride, which you can do in comfort. And yeah, so I think that's a really good central spot to get a good tasting of what's around.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, of course,
Yeah,
if you have 2 months and like you have a lot more time, then there are plenty of
so
amazing
much.
spots
Yeah,
in the country. And I'm pretty sure it's something that everyone always definitely mentions that it's the national park where you get to see wildlife plus sea life as well. So,
yeah, yeah, definitely. But that's so far north. So if you're looking
yeah.
bang for buck, stay central. But if you're interested in, I just want to be out there in nature, yeah, Minka Tyrona, I think would be the other
Yeah,
option.
those were really great suggestions. Yeah, depending upon the duration of your trip, what all you can do.
Exactly. You got me.
That's a wrap for part one of Morgan's Colombian adventure. But trust us, there is so much more to come. From extreme hammocking in the jungle to diving deeper into Colombia's vibrant culture, there's a lot more you need to know about Morgan's journey through this amazing country. Join us in part two for more of our travel tales and insider tips. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more epic travel stories. Until then, happy exploring and stay tuned.